friends, and welcome again to Joyful Julie Live, my second to last show for this go round. Happy summer solstice to everybody, if that is something that is significant to you. My guest tonight, I say this every night. I'm super excited about my guest tonight, and why wouldn't I be? Because why would I bring on somebody I'm not excited about? But Ben Currier, we've been connected only just a few months, but had some fun conversations in the DMs. I think we connected via Chris, maybe. But he's Excel guy and failure guy and just an all-around cool dude. So without further ado, we will bring him out.
It's great. I don't even have to walk or anything. I just come right out.
Right. We just push the button or flip the toggle switch, and here you are.
I don't know how we met, by the way, either. I don't know how I met most people because it's like such a whirlwind.
Right? Yeah. No, I don't know either. It's usually somebody's comment or somebody's post, and then in the comments, and it's like, oh, hey, that dude seems neat, and then you connect and make the best of it. So if you're here, there's. Oh, please. I was going to say, if you're here, make sure you drop a comment and let us know. There's Holly coming over from Twitch. Holly loves Excel as well. So hopefully we'll have lots of good comments from her. I did get a couple of questions for you over on my Facebook page, so I'll have to go grab those so that give us some things to talk about. So
that sounds good. I was going to say, how long have you been on LinkedIn? Because I realized I've been on LinkedIn for like 15 years, and I've only been using it for like 4 months, like intentionally. That's why I don't know how I meet anybody, because either from forever ago or in like the last 3 months.
Yeah, no, I've had my LinkedIn since 2007. Yeah. So
it's basically this.
Yeah. So a long time.
And then you ignored it for a long time, right?
Yeah. I'd pop in and out occasionally, but never really understood the value of it until about 15 months ago. It was like February of 2021 when I started like being more regular and connected with some really cool people. So
yeah, I came kicking and screaming. I knew the Excel people would be here, but I was like, it's got to get cooler. And then when they brought the audio over, I just left Clubhouse. I was like, screw it. I'll at least go over somewhere where I'm not totally procrastinating from what I'm doing, you know? So it's great. And I can see the comments now. Usually the first time I jumped on, I didn't even know there was comments. I didn't know who was watching me. So I'm getting the hang of this stuff now. This is like my third one, I think.
Oh, good. Yeah, Restream is awesome. I love how it pulls in the comments from everywhere, especially when it decides to work. Because last week I was, not last week, maybe it was the week before, whenever it was, recently, Chris had a live where he was doing a prison-style cooking show. And so I was backstage for him. So when he's using his hands and stuff, I could run the comments for him. And for whatever reason, that night, Restream decided to not populate the comments from anywhere except Twitch. So
I thought you'd have a prison like live stream prisoners like giving their tips for how to cook, or what is it? What were you saying it was? Prison?
No. Yeah. So and I think most people know this. Chris spent some time in prison, and so when they're in there, they have their own like ways of like cooking meals using unconventional methods.
I get it.
And so
I assumed you went to jail or prison. I didn't know for sure though.
Yeah. So he demonstrated one of his famous dishes that he used to make. It was pizza.
Well, there's a lot of quotes going around. I guess it's not even close.
Well, not to what we would consider traditional pizza. So you'll go check out his famous doesn't belong in there quote.
It's great.
You'll just have to go check out his replay.
Yeah, I will.
And you can see the whole thing. So it was pretty phenomenal. So yeah, it's good.
That's cool.
Good times.
I like it.
Hi, Randy. Thanks for being here. Randy Strawberry. Right. I think we just recently connected.
She's fantastic. She when I was on that trip to Coachella that you briefly mentioned in the post, she was helping me try to figure out who I was going to stay with over there because it was like such a last minute thing. And we didn't end up finding me anywhere, but it was still fun.
Well, you got to have friends that at least try, right?
Yeah. I had a place to stay, but then 2 days before they got COVID. So then I was like, okay, I don't have a place to stay. And then
that is still throwing a monkey wrench in a lot of people's plans. So
Seeing him, we got Chrissy here, and you said there's some. So I'm gonna get some questions I don't even know what they're gonna be. That's gonna be fun.
yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. So she's coming on from your page.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see on if it shows like a purple.
It paired. Does. It says paired. Yep.
Yep. So she's coming from your page. So
I'm just happy I can wave, and I'm waving at like no one. It doesn't make sense because they've probably been here for a little bit, and they're like, "Why is he waving at me?"
Well, but hey, we don't know unless they comment. So I say it's a appropriate time to wave.
Mm-hmm.
It's like because like they're announcing themselves, so it's all good.
So I was curious, when you first heard the failure thing, what did you think that it was?
Probably pretty similar to what it is. I mean, because I don't see somebody touting failure if they continue to be a failure and aren't like using it as a way to propel themselves forward. I
did think it was all historical, but it hasn't been. And it's like a lot of us haven't since I took the title. So I totaled that car that was connected to. Since I did it, I've gotten fired from a job since starting it, which is my 6th of firings, which is why I started the world's #1 failure thing. But point is, I thought it was all historical, but you'd be surprised how much it's not historical. I mean, for everybody, I think we all think it's behind us, but that's why we got to get used to it.
And I think it's a part of life. Kind of the same with challenges that knock you down may not necessarily be a failure, but can make you feel like one.
Absolutely,
I know I've been there.
Yeah. Hey, Troy, what's up? How's it going? I love Troy.
Hey, man. Thanks for being here. He's coming over from your page.
I know. I didn't even know. I don't even know how they're doing it.
It's because Restream is awesome, and you paired.
I know. I have lifetime access to Restream. I don't have to ever pay again. And I paid like $60. I'm a weird guy who knows weird things, so
well,
I don't even use it. This is my 3rd time using it or whatever.
Yeah, Mark, you need to wait for Mark.
If you don't know Mark, I know I was gonna give it a second, but hey, Mark, he does a Zen Sandwich podcast. He's awesome.
Yeah,
highly suggest you check it out. It's he's in Japan.
Okay, nice.
I'm from Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. All right, so where do you want to start? You want to start with Excel or you want to start with failure?
Where do you want to start?
I mean, we can start with the.
What are people here for?
Ahead.
I don't even know. Let's do anything. You choose. I choose too many things in life.
I don't think is there such a thing as choosing too many things?
Well, I mean, I'm the host of my own show, so like I get to choose a lot of the things. I never get to let the people choose for me. You know?
Okay, fair enough. All right. So my one question, first question is, what are some Excel shortcuts that everyone needs to know? That actually comes from my sister-in-law, Katie.
Thank you, Katie. I don't know if she's watching, but or in the future, people could be watching, right? So, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of what I do is this. And there's a free one on my website, which is an interactive cheat sheet, I call it. And so basically, I have all the shortcuts, and then I have marked my favorites. And I basically say you should print out a listing of shortcuts and put it up on your desk, have an expiration date of like a month later, and then you take it down and cross off the ones that you know and put new ones on, because you really got to like learn a lot of them over time. But I'd say control page up, control page down, goes between sheets. That's a good one for navigational. So control page up, control page down. I use that a lot. Control home, control end. I'm not going to do too many of these just because, but you guys go check out the thing because it has some of these marked down. But control home will go to the start of the spreadsheet. Control end will go to the bottom of where the data is, bottom right. So it's like trying to see like where's your stuff end and where's the start. So there's a lot of things with navigation, because if you want to be like a mouse free person, you know, and not be doing the Charleston shuffle between the two, you got to learn a lot of the navigational things. So I'd say that's how it is. Oh, do you know anything about StreamYard? Because I don't know even anything about Restream. Do you know what Troy wants to know?
I don't know. I mean, if he really wants to know that answer, we could pull Chris in here because he's the one that's most qualified to answer that. I've only used Restream. I know the big difference between StreamYard and Restream is the ability to pair. And that's the bonus that Restream has over StreamYard 100% is the ability to pair.
Campo at Twitch is correct. Good job. There's a lot of things that aren't even shortcuts, but they do. It's like a feature in Excel. Text to columns is one of them. If you have like first and last name or something, you want to split it out. So it's first name in one column, last name in another, or like there's a dash in every cell. You want to split it by the dash. You can basically break that column into 2 columns based on a designation thing. And it's way faster than going manually. If you're doing something manually in Excel, basically, if you're doing like over and over manually doing something, don't do it. Just stop, Google how to do something like that, and then figure it out, because there's always a way to get around it.
Yeah, I have used text to columns a bunch. I just used it just the other day, in fact. But yeah, I've found that too. Like if I'm doing something, I'm like, there's got to be a way to make this work for me instead of doing this. And
I've seen people will calculate the sum and then type in the sum of the numbers that are on the screen. I'm like, do you even understand what this program is?
There's literally a button for that.
I know. It's fun. I mean, so some people have no idea what it is. So, and also I only had one course. I went to undergrad and graduate. I got my MBA. I don't know how much Excel training you got, but I got like one class maybe of not even great. Yeah. And it's like 90% of what I do in my job. But I was taught all sorts of other stuff that I have no idea. I don't remember.
For sure. Yeah. And when it comes to like college, I don't think I ever had any Excel training. I took a class when I was in like high school with my dad because he uses Excel for his business a lot. But everything else is either figure it out on your own or YouTube. And
and that's why I started training, because I was like, what the hell? A, what the hell? B, the way I learned was like on an internship, he handed me Excel 2003 for Dummies and said, don't even talk to me until you read this entire book, basically. And I was like, perfect. I don't have to talk to you for a few days, whatever it was. And then I was like, oh man, this program's awesome. In terms of like, if I'm gonna have to do this stuff anyways, might as well automate it. And then he taught me all sorts of stuff. But at school, they were like, they're teaching me Access more. I know more about Access from school. I'm like, what are we doing here, guys? But I didn't know what accounting was even when I picked it, because I would not have picked accounting if I knew what it was. So they don't tell you enough.
You picked accounting as your major without even realizing what it was.
They were like talking about journal entries and general ledgers, and I'm like, what does this mean? I don't even understand what is happening. Like, what are we talking about? Because they don't go like, this is how a business is run. They don't start from the beginning. They're like revenue matching and all this other stuff. And I'm like, what are you? All right, whatever. Everyone needs an accountant. I'll just pick accounting. Like, I thought it was a good, maybe some of the other flavors of finance would go away, but accounting I thought would just be around. And then I started out in public accounting. No one wants you to be there because you're auditing them. I don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Why am I there? And then also I don't like counting on top of that. So the thing I'm auditing, I'm also like, come on, because the thing is this. So anybody listening, I'm sorry if you're in accounting, that's fine if you like it, but they don't give you any credit. No one's like, the accounting team did it. They closed the month. They did it. They did all the financial stuff. They don't. It's like baseline stuff. And if you're either late and they're mad at you, or they're like, they say nothing. But then I realize if you're the guy who says what we're gonna do next year, and you're not a psychic, you don't know. How the hell do you know it's gonna sales in 5 years? I don't know. But then you get a lot of credit because you're predicting the future, but also you're giving them like good news, because it's not gonna be bad news usually, because it's a psychic thing. I don't know. I grew up in Salem, Massachusetts. There's plenty of psychics there and witches and stuff like that, and I'm used to being lied to. It's like, how much do I have to pay to you to lie to me? But in finance, forward-looking finance, it's a lot of money. You get paid to lie, because I can say, if this happened, this is how the math would work. But you guys got to go do the selling of it. I don't know what's happening. I can't make this happen. I just say, if you did this, that, and the other thing, this is what would happen mathematically. And if they did that, that's exactly what would happen. But it's never going to be that. So, but accounting, you have to be exactly what it was. And that's annoying. So I could just be the guy who just takes what they want. But the one thing that is annoying about forward-looking stuff is that I made all these amazing dashboards where they can tweak everything and do this and that, and then they changed none of it. And I was like, I could have saved like 80% of the time, but I just made it not interactable, So that's one of my things that I say. So I do a cheat code, CODE, to unlocking your inner Excel ninja, which is the C is creativity and complexity. So how complex should this be without being too complicated, and how creative do I have to be? Like, if it's a one-time thing, fine, I guess you can use a calculator and add stuff up, but that's ridiculous. But, the more that it's like a routine thing, you want to make
Mhm.
sure you're trying to figure out how creative can I be and how complicated should this be in order to like do what I wanted to do without having to make it overly complicated. And that's what I was doing with those dashboards. I was letting them do everything, and they didn't want to do anything. You know? Oh, thanks, Mark. Yep, I have. I've been to the one where the Red Sox won the World Series in 2013, and I got fired from my job that night as well. Well, not that night, but the result of that night.
Oh no.
What? Yeah. Mark's teeing up because he had me on his podcast, so he knows that that's probably one of the more embarrassing stories, or at least we won the World Series, and I'm there. I'd seen like 3 games all year. I was like the least deserving guy to be there, but I want to take it through work. And there's 2 other coworkers with me, and when they won, I lit up a joint. No offense to the world, but I said, "You guys have." I didn't light it up. I said, "You guys have. Do you mind if I do this?" They said they didn't mind, and then they tricked me. They minded, and then I got fired.
Rude.
And I moved to Denver for obvious reasons, and then we got fired from every other job before and after. So, which is true. 6 for 6. I was 5 for 6 when I started the podcast. So I've left corporate America not because I was smart enough to get out. They wouldn't let me stay, basically. So I'm like, fine. I'll try to run my own business.
You know, sometimes the universe was giving you signs, maybe. Like, this is not where you're supposed to be, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or I like mentally quit, but then why would I actually quit if I can keep whatever. The thing is, the point is, there's a lot of weird stuff. You know, if you've been in corporate America, it can be just selfish people doing selfish things, and it's hard for me to get on board with a lot of that. You know,
that is true. It can be.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes on that has nothing to do with work.
Yeah. So instead of doing the politics, I got better at Excel, but it didn't help. It didn't matter. You got to do the politicky stuff. So
that is true.
But this is what I'll say: if you learn how to do something quickly in Excel and save a bunch of time, don't tell them. Just tell them it takes whatever it took before, and then do something else because they're gonna give you more work. And a lot of times they'd give me something my boss is working on, and they say it took them 4 hours, and then if I can make it take 20 minutes, like they were paying someone more money to do 4 hours, I'm saving the money by saying it takes 4 hours at my level, even if it takes 20 minutes. Because they don't give you don't get to keep the time you save, which is ridiculous.
No, it's true. Yeah, and time is, you only get so much, so you got to make the best of it.
Yep. That's why I'm top 500 Reddit commenters. It's because a lot of times work, I was doing that instead of other stuff.
I thought about including that in the description, and then I didn't. And I kind of wish I would have now.
It's funny because it's not clout you can bring anywhere. That's why I think it's funny because, well, you can't bring most clout anywhere. But nowadays, like at least if you're popular on one social media, you kind of got more on another one. But like Reddit's a weird one, and no one cares who you are, or like no one knows who's who, except for with a few people who are like got funny accounts. So you can't really do much with it. Although I've gone to some meetups and stuff, and there's a secret subreddit when you get over 100,000 that you can't get into unless you get that much. So if anyone's
that's
interested,
all way over my head. I have a Reddit account, and I don't know how it happened. Somebody sent me like a link to some like LinkedIn lunatics thread on Reddit, and that was a rabbit hole that I unfortunately go down on a regular basis now because I'm terrified of being on there. Because I've seen
you're pro LinkedIn, is that what it is?
Well,
what's LinkedIn lunatics mean? I've not been to that one.
It's like people who they like roast people on LinkedIn. They like go screen capture a thing and then they like roast them. And nice. I'm too fragile for that.
I could go put it on. I've got a Reddit account. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna. But now someone else might. But also, what would they roast us for? Being awesome? No, come on.
I don't know. I think I'm fairly. Well, everybody's roastable.
Mary Davis is getting shout out City from Chris. I don't know what's. And Julie, your hair is on point. Absolutely. What about mine? No, nothing.
Yeah, yours is amazing too. It's about the beard.
There's some. Well, I only found out I could grow that like a year and a half ago, which is a great tragedy and failure of my life that I did not know I could grow a beard earlier. So if you're listening, grow a beard. If you think you can't, you might be able to. So I thought if I couldn't grow it up here, why would it? But then the masks came, and I was like, all right, here's my chance to try it out.
Yeah. Beards for the win. Yeah. Chris is a fan of the.
It's like a shield from the world.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what could that like term be when you've got no hair up here but you have hair here.
Isn't that
like
guy?
They call him
remember
mullet.
The guy with the magnet and you drag the hair around?
Yes.
What's that guy's name?
I have no idea.
Whatever his name was. I think there's one where who the hell knows? But we don't. It's like, I guess, business nowhere, out of business, closed for business, and partying in the back.
Well, yeah, because I was saying, like, you say mullet is a business in the front, party in the back, but what is this?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Bankruptcy, party in the back. It's always a party in the back. I like that though. So what are one of these Facebook questions? Oh, we already got the shortcuts one, right?
Yeah, that was the one. And then the other one, I thought it was another actual question, but it was really just kind of a funny one. She said, do you play the Friends scene in your head where Ross is moving a couch every time?
Oh my God, I almost wore the pivot shirt. I almost wore the shirt that says pivot. I have a pivot shirt and it's Ross and, right? Was it Rachel? Right? Moving the couch.
I think so.
I got to Ross. But I bought it the other day, or like a few weeks ago. And I was like, this is perfect for A, because it's awesome, but B, Excel. So that's great. Whoever said that was ahead of me because I didn't even think about it. I just bought it because it was the Friends thing. And I was like, oh, this is dope for pivot tables. Pivot.
Exactly. So funny. Woolly. Oh, that's what the magnet thing was called?
Oh, Woolly. Thank you, Sam. Good call. Yep. He's right. And there's yellow-ish package. I mean, I don't know if there's knockoffs. Also, Where's Waldo is Where's Wally in Sparks of the World. I don't know if Woolly Willy is something somewhere else.
Okay, I'm Googling Woolly Willy. Okay. I would have never.
Can you find one with him with the beard and no hat, no top? I just called it a hat. No hair?
Let me see. I'll search for more images of Woolly.
We can always draw. Willy. I mean, we can get a real one, potentially.
I'm sure there's one in there. Oh, wait, yeah, right here. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. I'm just gonna send. I'm trying to think. How do I
send it to Chris? Is that what you're gonna do?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna send Chris the link. Like, here, do this for me.
That's fine. I don't mind.
Okay, I can screen share. I can do that.
Something popped up on my screen. I'm not gonna click it though. Right?
No. Share. No, not add to my stream. Share screen. Wrong button. Okay, this one.
This is how you learn, guys. Oh, there he is.
And there he is.
A little woollier than me, but yeah, he's pretty close. $6.
I've totally forgotten. I've totally forgotten that thing even existed.
Magnetic personality. I love that. I didn't know that said that. How much fun can you have with this? 10 minutes? I mean, we did back in the day because it was, all you had, but it's really, you're grasping fun at that point when you're dressing this Woolly Willy guy in different hairstyles.
Yeah, I don't know that he would give the same amount of enjoyment to my children as he did to me and my siblings.
I wonder if it inspired any hairdressers or turned more of them away from it. Could have done either one. Because Chris just said he got bored pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then he went to go do prison cooking or whatever. We should do. So you had him cook it right on the show?
Yeah, it was on his show. But
so you should do one where you do the thing where someone else's arms and you put your arms behind your back, and then you have to do the prison cooking. You have to do it instead of him, and he talks it through.
That'd be funny. That is actually a really funny idea.
Because he'd get messy. Because that's usually what happens with the person.
It would get messy. Yeah. The only time I've seen that done was when I was in like a younger kid. I was in 4-H, and we used to go to 4-H camp. And one of the skits that one of our cabins did was that. And so, yeah, it was like a whole table of people with somebody else's arms in front of them.
So you know some tricks. You know some of the old jokes. You can, like, I don't even know what I put in it because I've never done it. I've only seen it on, what is it? Whose Line Is It Anyway, maybe?
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm not going to explain the Yojimbo thing, but I will skip over it. And if you want to learn about it, check out Mark's thing because we talk about it in depth. It's a Japanese term, and then I took it and made it a different thing. Fine, I'll just say what it is. Which is taking it's damn you, Mark. Chris, you're helping. You're putting him up here on the screen too. So, Yojimbo, what it was is I was realizing like when you have a failure, like what are you supposed to do when you're in a failure moment? How do you make that better?
Mm-hmm.
So pretend you're at half a gas tank. You have a failure, so your gas tank goes to empty. I'm gonna say, in order to Yojimbo it, you have to actually instead of bringing it back to half tank where you were, you have to go full tank of gas and do something that you wouldn't have done if you hadn't failed, so that you extra make it better than you would have otherwise. You know, you go out of your way to do something
Okay.
special to make sure that the failure had some meaning to it or whatever.
Gotcha.
So the Yojimbo means the act of embracing failure and making something more beautiful.
Well, that's awesome. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you want to explain that? I think that's
I
amazing.
feel like I would have to rush through it, and I might have done it. But also, there's that post I made about the kintsugi, that Japanese. It's like when they break a ceramic thing and put it back together with that gold stuff, and then it's basically highlighting all the cracks that were in it, and talks
That
about
is
it's like a philosophy thing.
Yeah, those are beautiful, and love the concept behind it too. Because people say what doesn't break you makes you stronger, and I think it's kind of the same thing, except not exactly. It's like beautiful.
Those are broken, and unlike Humpty Dumpty, they got put back together again. And then I like the idea of that. Not only is what broke you part of you, but that the highlighting of it is like this is what's important, or like don't forget that happened. Because if we don't learn from it, I think that's really the only true form of failure is when you don't learn from your failures or mistakes, because it's really a learning lesson. But if you don't learn anything, you try to purge it, or you're Men in Black yourself with the thing.
Yeah,
To forget, it's not, you don't gain. You already paid the price of the failure. You might as well learn.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's huge. If you don't learn from it, then yeah, you're right. That is when you are considered, at least more so considered, failure. Yeah, you gotta learn.
I've noticed, and so you have a joyful thing going on, positive. A lot of people just do not like the word failure, and then they immediately try to get me on, no, you can't use that word or whatever. Not get me, but more like they're like, I'm not going to listen to what you have to say because I hate the word so much. And so I don't use it in my vocabulary or whatever thing they want to say. And I'm like, I eventually get to that point about learning stuff, but you're never going to have a failure-free life of no mistakes. So you're just lying to yourself if that's what you think is going to happen. So you might as well just be ready and realize that it's part of the game and you're going to learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And my Joyful Julie is a reminder to me as well that, you can find the joy in not great situations, because they're going to happen, but you can get through them, and you can find a little nugget to hang on to help you get through those hard times.
Absolutely. It's funny because whenever I see Joy, I think of someone who I know named Joy, whose email, and I'm going to change the email. So this isn't the actual email, but it's incredibly close to what they used. So it's freeemailfrom@hotmail.com, meaning their username was freeemailfrom and then @hotmail.com. Like, as if people would know that it's free, but why wouldn't you put anything else?
Yeah.
What line of reasoning brings you to that? I have no idea, but
to
but
be
that person's name was Joy. So
different. To be different. I know somebody whose their email was send it to my office at gmail.com or whatever.
See, that's funny though. That's funny. I hope she was being funny. I hope she was like, this would be funny whenever I tell anybody, not like, this is a good email name. Because she was the entire time I knew her, she was using it. So, meaning, who knows? Maybe it actually helped. I'm talking about it.
Right?
I'm not saying the real email though. So yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Do you judge people based on what their email is? Because it seems like your own business and Gmail are kind of tied. Gmail's a little bit lower sometimes, depending on who's asking. But if you're AOL.coming it, you might get some.
I will admit I do occasionally judge, depending on the context. If it's just like a personal interaction, like I don't really care, like whatever. Longevity, you. But if it is like a more professional context and you throw one of those in there, yeah, I'm gonna judge you.
Or if you're gonna hire them to do something professional that you don't want that type of thing to be done in,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, all right, I'm not so sure. But isn't it funny that is a way that we identify ourselves? Like numbers, our phone numbers, besides when you spelled it out, weren't like you couldn't get judged that much on that. Guess where you're from, I guess. Eric, hey, what's up? How's it going? I'm just saying that because Chris said it. I don't even know. I can't. My ADHD does not allow me to read. And
it's okay. It lends itself to many squirrel moments when, especially if there's like a lot of comments happening. Sometimes it's hard to stay focused on what is actually happening, like in the conversation with my guest.
Can I ask for comments right now from people?
Yeah.
I don't even know how many people are here, but if you guys could write, if anybody's listening, in the comments, just put what your thoughts are about Excel, because in my head, people are always thinking it's either too hard or too boring. But I don't know if I'm telling myself that, and people are like, someone said they loved it. I know there's some people out there who love it. Yep. I don't know if most people who want to learn it or like need to learn it would be having that mindset or not. So I just don't know what people think, because I feel like a lot of people fall asleep halfway through the word Excel, but that's just because I've had to tell so many people about it, and I focus on the negative ones probably, rather than my peeps, the ones who are, spreadsheet warriors.
Yeah. Hey, I love me a good spreadsheet, and I'll be honest, like it's like one of the greatest like feelings of satisfaction when I make it do something. So I'm like, I know it should be able to do this, and then when I figure out and I make it do it, I'm like, bam. I'm not even gonna say the words that I say on like live stream because they're not nice, but like I made you my
female dog.
Yes.
We can add him with Excel's the best.
Oh yeah. So he's the one that asked on the original post.
VLOOKUPs,
Yeah, which I don't even know what that second one is.
Okay, so honestly, Adam, I use both like combined a lot, because if you have a pivot table, for anybody, I don't like talking about stuff and like people don't know what it is, because then you're wearing a members only jacket as if those matter and you're only a member. I want everybody to know what a pivot table is before I talk about what they are. So it's basically like if you had a bunch of data in a giant like data table where it's got like orders or something, invoices, whatever it is. You can take that whole thing with like a bunch of columns and rows, make it into a pivot table, which is this magical thing on top that then you can take, like, if there's a month column, you can put that at the top, and then put the months up top, and then you put like maybe how many orders you had or whatever. You can like slice and dice the data of that big thing, which you couldn't do unless you put it into a pivot table. Okay. And then the VLOOKUP would be you're taking so it just looks up something in a row, in a column, and it goes over a certain number. So like if you wanted to look up a part number and find out the price over, which is like maybe 4 columns over, you'd use a VLOOKUP. It'll vertically look up the thing, and then it'll go to the number of columns over that you said. Okay. But in some instances, I know this is getting boring.
No, I'm thinking of how I can use this.
Yeah. So I'd have a pivot table, which would have certain info, maybe sales by product ID, and then I'd be using a VLOOKUP on the product ID to bring in that number on another spreadsheet. So I'd be using a VLOOKUP on the pivot table. So, so I don't know if there's a big battle between pivot tables and VLOOKUPs. There is kind of a beef between VLOOKUPs and index match, which in that situation, I'm on the index match side. I'm not even going to explain what that means, but I do want to say merged cells. Don't use them, anybody. No. Don't. I hate them. Also, there are certain instances where you should use them, but there's a I hate them that much. But there's a center across selection. If you go to alignment, you can highlight multiple cells. I don't know why I'm doing that in an area you can't see. So you highlight a bunch of cells, right click, format cells, go to center across selection. It'll basically merge the cells. It'll move it over in the middle, but it's not merged. So when you copy and paste, you don't get so many problems, That's the copy paste. That's the problem with the merge cells, because it's always like just gives you an error, and you're like, what am I supposed to do? You gotta unmerge them all, remerge them all. It's like, what are we gonna do? Come on, people. So, but they don't have a center across up and down.
Why not?
Because they want me to have to say you have to use merge cells at some point when it's that way. Other than that, we wouldn't need them.
What was it called?
merged cells. So it's when it
No,
takes
no,
a bunch
no.
of cells. Oh,
I know what merge cells are, but the other one.
well, I don't know if anybody knows. So just to explain both, merged cells is when you take a bunch of cells and then you make it one. So then it's
Yeah.
gonna move like one. I know you know. And then what were we saying? Oh yeah, center across selection. It's just basically a formatting thing where you say, so if you highlight A1 to whatever D1, right click it, go to format cells, and then in the alignment thing, there'll be a center, there'll be left,
Uh-huh.
right, there'll be a center across selection, which is center across whatever you have selected.
Okay.
It's great for just making things look good, but I'll still work the same. And it's just going to be in the far left cell still.
Yes. Very good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that is applicable.
Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. Also, if you want to learn how little people know, start designing spreadsheets for other people to use. You will not be you will not be able to predict the ways that they mess things up. You don't think people can put letters into a number field. You don't think people can do things that you didn't even think were possible. And you learn how to combat that in advance. I just basically have it yell at them and go, hey, tell Ben there's a problem, and then I'd fix it so there's no way for them to do it that way again, because it's crazy to have to predict how they're going to not follow instructions or whatever, you know.
It's a problem that people have, and it's not just children that don't follow instruction. Adults are just as bad, if not worse.
I have found just as guilty, but it's not in this one instance, I guess.
No, of course not.
Yeah, well, because I have teachers, so I'm like, I got to buy into a lot of the things I'm saying because I learned it that way. But also, like, so how long did you work in corporate America, or
13 and a half years.
Okay, so kind of the same as me. And then I don't know if this is how it was for you, but it's like tribal knowledge that's handed over, like from job to job of like, hey, this was an old Excel model that was dope. Just use this. And then I would just be like deconstructing how'd they do those so that I can see what's going on. A lot of people would just either use it till it breaks or not. But I was like, I got to figure out like what's going on here because I don't like not understanding something, but relying on it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like to know, like, okay, if this is the answer, but why? Like, what else was happening in here to make it do that? Yeah. I'm trying to, like, replicate something. So, like, you're deconstructing one spreadsheet to, like, make it happen on another one. I was like, that is, like, the most complicated formula I've ever seen in my entire life. Like,
oh, yeah, so that's the one thing when you start out, when you're in, like, the first 5 to 10 years, you're like, I'm gonna make this formula the most complicated thing possible so that it works. But then you don't even remember what it does like 2 months later, and also no one knows what the hell how to decipher it. So eventually I was like, oh man, it's actually better if I take this formula and break it into bite-sized chunks and walk people through it and just extra like be less efficient but more explanation, because if someone else is gonna have to use it, even myself, I sometimes will be like, what the hell was I thinking here? What was I doing? What kind of workaround?
Leave yourself notes attached to your formulas.
Yeah, it's like
this is what I was thinking when I made this.
Yeah, I mean, if you do VBA or like macros, you can write comments in there and stuff too. So sometimes I would do that. I'm like, this is just in case something happens or whatever. But like when you're looking at a crazy formula, a lot of times you have an aha moment like 10 hours into working on this weird formula, and then you're like, I'm done. And then you forget what it even was. So I think it wasn't even I learned it. I was told like, hey, you got to break up this formula because we just can't rely on the formula. We have no idea what's going on here, kind of a thing. And then I was like, that makes total sense. But I've also had a moment where I've had to go into, this was a failure that wasn't related to being fired. I mean, it might have been part of the reasoning, but who knows? I remember having to go in after we made the giant presentation of like, how much are we going to make for the next 3 to 5 years, whatever. And then I was looking through my models because I was the one doing the entirety of the modeling. And I was like, oh no, that the depreciation isn't coming off of the, so it's coming off the P&L, but not the balance sheet or whatever. So I was like, that we're going to make $2 million less, even though it's fictional. And I made it up. I have to go say, remember the 2 million more I said we had? It's like going from 19 to 17, even though it's fictional. I found the problem, but I caused the problem as well. So I learned then how to make error proof and what I call bulletproof spreadsheets, because I didn't want to ever have to do that again. But when you have like 5 years, that's 60 months, if you've got a bunch of rows, how the hell are you going to remember all the numbers that are in it, or that anything
Right.
changed? You got to have Excel do it. That's the trick, honestly.
Mhm.
Is build a bunch of things to error check it. But you don't know that until you like have to go make that embarrassing statement to somebody and be like, okay, I don't want to do that again.
No, that's where like learning from your failures is very important. It wasn't something different scenario, but I used to work in marketing, and we sent out a brochure that had gone through several rounds of proofing, but it still went to print with the wrong phone number printed in it. It was like 2 numbers were transposed, and instead of being our organization, it was the local police department non-emergency number. Yep.
That's like one of the worst
Yeah.
accidental numbers you can pick.
Yeah.
I can think
Yeah.
of. It, like,
And we
unless
didn't.
it was the 911 one, but I don't know how
Yeah.
you get that one
Yeah.
accidentally.
No. But yeah. So after that, we implemented a spreadsheet that actually had like, did you proof this? And like had all the things, like you had to actually like mark it and then mark it on the proof to make sure that that didn't happen again.
So but if you're like me and you have to write your own marketing emails too, you might also mess up that part, because I've done that where I sent an email and like none of the links worked or whatever the thing was, and I was like, okay. I learned from it, and I was like, I didn't make a spreadsheet about it, but I was like, I got to make sure I don't whatever. I send a copy to myself and click everything first, or whatever the thing is that I learned, you know?
Yeah. Those test emails are important. It's like, oh, yeah. Anytime I can get somebody else's eyes on something I'm doing, I'm like, please do this, because at this point, it doesn't even look like it's spelled right to me.
Yeah.
You look at the same word in enough different fonts, and it looks like it's spelled different, spelled wrong.
Well, that's why it's hard when you're in Excel files and it's just numbers and stuff, and like, and they're also changing over time. It's like, I'm really good at remembering numbers, but basically what I do is I have a thing that there's one sheet where it's every number in the damn workbook frozen and then live what it really is, and I froze it whatever last week, and it just says the frozen one minus the live one is a 0. We're all good. If any number changes, it yells at you and says something's wrong, something changed, and then you can go see, it's like, oh, I tweaked this, so these things should change. Those are all showing up as different. But maybe you change payroll and then somehow sales change. You're like, that shouldn't have happened. You could see things like that, but you can't see it if you're just looking at a bunch of numbers that you don't know how they're changing, you know?
Yeah, that is a good tip. I don't know how I would implement that, but I'm sure somebody who's listening thinks that is a spectacular idea.
Well, I do, because I did it at my job. Because that's the only way I could be sane and be like, is this the same thing that I gave him last time? I just go look, oh yeah, it's a 0 variance all the way across. Dope, I'm good. And that's what I teach people how to do too. But also, I kind of just gave you the answer, but reach out to me if you want to know anything about it, because there's no way to really keep that all in mind. And also, if you're an extrovert at all, picking a job where you talk through numbers in a spreadsheet to no one is not the best job. Maybe go to sales or something.
If you don't talk to yourself through spreadsheets, like, are you even doing it right? Because I don't know anybody that doesn't do that.
I know, but the thing is, then you're working in the spreadsheet forever, and then you show somebody, they don't have the like deep knowledge you have of what it is.
They don't appreciate it.
Well, not only that, they don't even know how it works, because you're like, duh, obviously this works like this because I've been living in it, and they're like, what is this? It's like got 20 tabs, and I'm supposed to know how it works. You're like, yeah, it's intuitive. I've been cranking the hell out of this thing to make it awesome. So that's another thing. You got to work on explanation. If anyone else has to use it, you got to figure out how to explain it. That's part of the breaking up the formulas and doing other things. Adam put down the pace values thing. Dope. I don't know what you mean. Besides, that's a dope feature. Pace values are fun if you don't want to have the formatting and stuff. I don't know where Adam stands on it, so I'm just gonna say I'm pro pace values. Oh wait, he was probably saying it because I took those numbers and pasted them.
Yeah, Adam's a numbers guy. Less than 5 curse words per hour. I think isn't that way with like life in general? If you're saying less than 5 curse words per hour, you're on the right track.
Depends.
I'd say so.
Are you a stand-up comedian who's kind of edgy?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
Well, but if you were, you'd probably be saying some more swears.
Gotcha.
Or whatever
Fair
it
enough.
was. I could think of some areas. What I was what's funny is too, like you learn something. It's not even that complicated, but then you learn it and you look like a magician basically in front of everybody because they're like, "Oh my god, I don't have to do this thing for 8 hours every week now
Mm-hmm.
because you told me this one thing." And
Yeah.
if you're doing something like that, just Google it. There's a way to get around it, most likely, or email me, talk to me. I don't know. You can tell me what your problem is.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Excel. Unsolicited therapy, unlicensed for sure therapy.
What?
I'll
How
give it
about
to
that?
him. I'll give him unlicensed. I think if you say unlicensed, you can do whatever you want. If you say you're licensed, then you're screwed. But
You're only in trouble if you get caught, right?
if you didn't, well, no. I mean, if you disclaim that you have no license, then they can't even be mad.
True. Like
Right?
you volunteered for this.
Yeah. I was very clear
I
that
did
I
not
don't
take
know what I'm talking about. A coffee machine with a lava lamp. So, all right. So he's asking what's behind me. So we got a lava lamp, which I have a hoodie that has similar stripes on it. This is fake gold. I forget what it's called. Someone knows.
Fool's
Film of
gold.
an F, but not fool's gold. Isn't like a not moissanite. That's the diamond one. But you know what I mean. Like a
Okay.
knockoff gem. Someone's gonna put it in the thing, and then but I think it's funny because, whatever. This is MVP. So Excel gives out MVP awards, or Microsoft does. They make Excel. So when they give you a
Nice.
little thing each time you win one, it just
Right
stacks. And
on.
then I stopped caring apparently in 2016. But this is actually what he said was a coffee machine is a RAID, RAID. I've never used it, so I don't really even know how it works. But like, it's like 5 to 10 hard drives that would back each other up, so that you can't possibly lose anything. Like one fails, two fail, you still have all your stuff. But I'm able to be failing because I'm basically using it as a prop for my failure plate. It's not plugged in. I've never used it, but I bought it with the intent to use it, which is 90% of the things I own.
Bought with the intention of it happens.
Using and not having it used it. But there's so much potential.
You never know when you might need it.
I know. I'm a digital hoarder for sure. Meaning, because in real life, you can only have so many things in a small space, depending on how much space you have.
Mm-hmm.
Digitally, though, you can be quite the hoarder.
It's true. I'm a digital hoarder, and I will say I am so thankful for cloud storage because I did have like several like external hard drives that had backed up other stuff and like a lot of like pictures from like old cell phones and things like that. And they're all gone now because they weren't on the cloud after our fire. And so
he had a fire that took on all three of them.
Yeah. Well, it was my entire house.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful for the pictures that were automatically like on the cloud and everything else that lives there because they're still there.
So that's the only kind of hoarding that can survive a fire, is what I'm hearing.
It is literally only digital hoarding can survive a fire.
Yeah, cloud-based digital hoarding. I don't know what a Drobo drive is. I think it's called a Windows something or other. I'll figure it out later and tell somebody. But it has its own operating system and stuff. But I was watching a YouTuber and they basically said they needed a RAID, or they were like, you got to get a RAID. If I hear someone who knows what they're talking about say, I got to do something. Sometimes I do it and I don't even know why. But right now what I do is I'll have a podcast. I'll take it. I'll put it on external. And then I'll put that on another computer like you did. And if I burn up the place, yes, I'm screwed. But otherwise, I'm pretty good.
That's good. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. If somebody says like, "Oh, is there an expert and you need this? This is life changing," I'm like, "Take my money, like send it to me."
I'm like, "Oh, what? You want to waste my time forever for no money? Give it right here. Come on, bring it." Because I don't mind. Usually, I do things for no money more than I do for money. You know, I gotta trick myself.
So your website is excelexposure.com, right?
Yes. So I
started the best place for people to go if they wanted to learn some of your Excel ninja stuff.
Yep. So when I started the site back in 2012 or 2010, something like that, it was in Excel 2010. So all that old training, which was free then, and for 8 years, I didn't have a way to even pay me. I was paying to teach people because I didn't have ads on the site or anything. So, and it cost money to have a website. But 8 years, nothing. Then I've kept all that free. I made a new paid course, which is like barely linked on the main page because again, I have weird issues with that. I don't want people not to learn something because they don't want to pay for it. So there's a lot of free ways to do it. And then I have a paid course, which is $200 for lifetime access. That means I gotta, for my life, make sure it's continued to be accessible. But also, if you use the code failure, it's 20% off. So, and I'm pretty sure no one's ever used it because it's only usually said on my podcast. And apparently, there's not a high conversion between the podcast, which I never thought there would be. But I was like, if I'm going to put an ad on the podcast, it might as well be for the Excel thing. But if you want to be the first one to use the failure code, feel free. I will definitely notice it.
Awesome. Well, hopefully that does happen. Hope somebody does take advantage of that. So Mark Seavercroft that popped in the comments a minute ago, he's a business coach, my business coach. And he said I had him on, he was actually my very first live back in March. And he said from that interview, and as much as I've talked about his book since then, has sold more books than like the other podcasts and things that he's been on that have like millions of listens and downloads and things. And I'm like,
that makes
my
sense,
little audience.
when the people listen to the podcast, usually probably in the car driving, they're not going to go buy something or whatever. Like if they're watching this, you're probably watching it and you can go buy something, you know, like meaning it's got a better like turnover or whatever. I mean, I typically listen to it in the car. I think people listen to it in the car, the shower, when they're doing stuff, chores. I don't know. You're not usually like sitting and watching a podcast, you know, because it's audio. You can do whatever you want while you're listening to it. Also, I'm just telling this to myself really more than anyone else. I got to use the videos. I record videos every time and I don't do anything with them. I've got like 60, 70 hours of video, but I got to figure out how to edit it quicker. Actually, Angelique, if she's here, she's going to be the next guest and she's the first one who's getting the video treatment. I'm editing the video because then I can release the audio afterwards.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? Because usually I edit the audio and then I don't know what to do with the video because it's, I don't want to do it twice, but I'm thinking ahead this time, everybody.
There you go. Do it ahead of time. You can do it.
So yeah, the workshop, and then the Failure Guy podcast, if you want to listen to it, it's just called Failure Guy. Look it up wherever you want.
Awesome. It's good. It's good. Speaking of workshops, I do want to take a second and plug a workshop that will be next Thursday, June 30th at 6 p.m. Central Time. I am partnering up with Chris Hennessy, Anthony Jones, Amy Wills, and Ariel Lee to put together or to do a workshop. I'm totally drawing a blank on the name of it. LinkedIn Level Up Lifestyle Tips to Take Over the Platform in the World, I think is what we called it. But it's going to be a really awesome workshop. They're each sharing some of their expertise about, Chris will be sharing about live streaming. Anthony will be talking about LinkedIn, using it to leverage your business. Ariel talking about engagement. And I am talking about time management and productivity and how you can get more done with less stress. So if that sounds like something that y'all are interested in, I think Chris posted about it today. I'm going to post about it tomorrow. So be watching for that. And we will hopefully.
I don't know if I was listening poorly or not. Is it free or does it cost money? Is it free?
It is not free.
It is not free, everybody. So get ready. Get ready. It's going to be good stuff then, I imagine.
It is good stuff. Yeah. It is good stuff. Even though it's just a teaser on all of them, it will pretty good introduction to what is available when you choose to work with one of us. And yeah, Chris, hit the comment or hit the link in the comments, which I can't see because my LinkedIn is not refreshing.
So it's called Level Up Your LinkedIn Game. Live event June 30th at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Yes. It'll be good.
I'm excited for you guys.
Thanks. It's our first one, so we're learning, but I think it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you'll have to tell me
anything
how it goes,
else?
Well, you were just saying what I say, which is you'll figure it out, but instead of fake it till you make it, I say fail it till you nail it, and that's what you're doing, right? You're going to just go do it. It gets better the more you do it.
Yes, absolutely. One more thing before we go. Next Tuesday, which will be the 28th, is going to be my last evening live stream for a while. And my guest next week is Amanda Duesberg. If you're not connected with her, you should be. She does Mary Kay, like skincare, and also works with her husband on their Magic Means business. So we're going to talk about all things being a working mom and being active in the workforce and doing things to help you propel your life forward while feeling good in your skin. Should be a good conversation.
So does that mean this is the penultimate, or what I'll call the penultimate episode of the season?
Yes,
whatever?
It is. It is. You should feel special.
I do. I definitely do. Thank you.
Good.
And thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's been great.
Yeah,
and I can't wait to read
absolutely.
all the comments that I didn't see the first time.
Hey, it's all good. You can catch them on the replay. So thanks, Ben, again for being here. If you want to hang out, we are going to wrap it up. And thank you, everyone, again for dropping comments and interacting with us. And I will see you again next week. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.